Put a finger down if when you were engaged you got the flu really bad and your fever had just broken and you were super, super cold, so you decided to take a hot bath. So you took a bath, and then when you got out, you decided to lay in your bed naked for a while in your towel because you just didn't feel very good, and then your fiance came in and asked if he could cuddle with you, and you thought it would be cute, so you let him cuddle with you, and then your stomach started hurting really bad, and so you decided to gamble on a fart even though he was spooning you, and then you shit on your fiance, like full on shit on him, and then he stands up screaming saying that you shit on me, and you freak out and you start crying, and then he had to go take a shower, and then he had to come back and clean you off because you were still laying there crying because you were so embarrassed, but he still marries you.
Put a finger down if you were at work and you were going to do a pretty standard fiber pull at a customer's address and you saw in the customer's notes they requested to be contacted ahead of time due to an over-aggressive dog on the property that they didn't want coming into contact with the technicians due to risk of injury. So you go to the door to contact the customer and you realize what they forgot to mention was that the dog in question was a full-grown German Shepherd with a military history, longer and more aggressive than Colonel Jessup himself, and the fact that the parents weren't home, and that the dad was the dog's former handler and partner in the military service, and he was the only one the dog was trained to listen to, command-wise, and that the only person home to command the dog was the daughter, who opened the door wide up to me, and as soon as the dog saw me get near the daughter, went full DEFCON 1 security mode and turned my ass into a rag doll. And after learning a new sympathy for my own dog's chew toys, and getting up and realizing I couldn't use my leg that he had just used as a chew bone, I was rushed to the emergency room, where the doctor then informed me that I wasn't going to be able to walk for a couple days, and then my boss realized he was going to have to take pictures of my naked ass, thigh, and peek of my balls for insurance purposes.
Put a finger down if you were on the guys wrestling team when you were 16 because there wasn't enough girls to make up a girls wrestling team, and then you went to a tournament and you bled through your singlet and you didn't know what to do because you didn't want to bleed on the your opponent, and then they would have to stop the match because they would have to find out where the blood's coming from, and then you have to awkwardly be like, that's my period. But then you told your coach, who's never had any daughters, and you felt really awkward, and then he stood there in shock, and then he pulled you from the tournament.
Put a finger down if you've ever been asked on a date by a really cute tradie who had been working near your offices. He leaves you a letter on your desk, giving you his phone number and asking you to get in touch. You then send him a text message to which he then asks you on a date to take you to a winery about 45 minutes from your house. You think, that's a little extravagant, but why not? Sounds fun. So you then just do a little bit of research on him on Facebook just to double check and make sure he's not a crazy person, to which you find he's recently divorced, which, that's fine, people get divorced. You do a little bit more research and see that you actually look quite a lot like his ex-wife, and then do a little bit more research and see that where he wants to take you for dinner is actually where he got married.
Alrighty, put a finger down if you got really drunk last night and grabbed Tim Tams out of your cupboard and tried to do a Tim Tam slam, but instead of using milk, you used the wine that you were drinking. So you were literally sipping Pinot Grigio through a bitten Tim Tam, and then you ate it and actually enjoyed it. And then you grab an egg from the fridge and tried to do the egg challenge by cracking it with one fist, and it cracked and went all through your hair, and because you were so drunk, you forgot about it and went to bed, woke up the next morning with dry, scrambled egg through your hair, and the only thing to get rid of it was to cut it out, so you spent the rest of the day depressed, hungover, and with less hair. Yes.
Put a finger down if you dated this guy who took you to Barnes & Noble on your first date, so you thought that was really sweet, and then a few dates later he flew you on his private jet, which threw you off guard, and then a few dates later he took you to his 300-foot yacht, which really threw you off guard, and then a few dates later he got you a personal driver and a personal assistant who wanted to know you were 24 hours a day, but you thought it was for safety, you didn't question it because you felt like Cinderella and you felt really grateful, and then a few dates later you got an email from an angry girl claiming to be his fiance. When you asked him about it, he said she was crazy and that it wasn't true, but you went with your gut and you broke up with him anyway because you didn't trust him. And then 3 months later an FBI agent calls and says you need to come in for questioning and that they have something they have to tell me. And so you find out from an FBI agent that this man had been dating you and 10 other women, and he had put a GPS tracker on your car. He had hired someone to photograph you 24 hours a day and log everywhere you went, and you put a camera in your apartment without you knowing, and now he's going to jail for a really long time.
So I've seen everybody do this put a finger down thing, and I decided that, like, I should put my own little spin on it. So here we go. Put a finger down if you started dating a guy and then about a year later you both decide that you should move to his home state so you could see where things go, and like 3 years later everything's actually going like really well, so you decide to move in together, and then you get a dog, and then you get engaged, and then you start planning the wedding and your life out together, so you buy a house, and then you get another dog and they're like so cute, and then it's the day before the wedding and you guys have been together for like 5 years now, and he wakes up and he gives you a kiss and tells you that he'll see you later at the rehearsal dinner, but in fact you won't see him later at the rehearsal dinner because then he tells you that he actually doesn't love you and he doesn't want to get married, and so you have to call all the vendors last minute and cancel everything, although you can't cancel everything because it's so last minute, and so some people still show up to the wedding even though it's not happening, and you still have to eat cake and act like everything's fine, and everything's not fine, and 6 months later your life is still not fine and you're just trying to figure out what to do next. Just me? Anybody else? Okay, cool.
Put a finger down if you've ever been visiting your boyfriend's family in a different state, you're eating dinner with them, and you're like, gotta go to the bathroom. You go upstairs, you start taking a poo, you feel something hanging out of your butthole, look in the toilet, see something dangling down, you start freaking out, so you call your boyfriend to come upstairs. He comes in the bathroom, looks at it, you're like, oh my God, there's more. You have to physically pull it out. You start crying because you're like, oh my God, that looks like a worm. He's like, hold on, let me go get my mom. You're like, no, 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 no. Goes and gets his mom. She comes in the bathroom while you're on the toilet, looks at it, and she's like, you should probably go to a walk-in clinic. So you go to a walk-in clinic with it in a bag. They look at it, don't know what it is, send it off for testing. Then you go home and it happens again. So then you go to the emergency room and they don't know what it is. So now you're waiting for your test results to come back to see if you've pooped out worms. Okay, so like I said in the first video, I went to the emergency room after I went to the walk-in clinic. They still didn't know what it was, but they prescribed anti-parasitic medicine for me just to be safe. So I've been on that for the last few days just to find out it was never parasitic in the first place. Have no idea what it was, but the doctor said that I should still go see a GI. So that's where I am right now. But anyway, here's my boyfriend because he deserves recognition for getting my poop out of the toilet.
Okay, put a finger down if one time growing up you came back to your mom's house from spending the week at your dad's and you noticed that your jewelry box was missing, and then you go over and you hang out with your best friend neighbor and it's sitting in her room and you're like, that's my jewelry box, and she's like, no, your mom had a garage sale and I bought it, so it's mine. And you say, well, can I have it back? I don't know why my mom sold you that. And she said, nope, I paid for it. It's my jewelry box now because your mom sold it to me. And then you remembered that your teeth that you had been collecting as they were falling out were in there. And so you said, hey, can I at least have my teeth back? My teeth are in there. And she says, nope, they were in the box and I paid for them, so they're mine. And then you didn't get your teeth back because your friend paid for them, so she kept them.
Put a finger down if when you were 15, you fell off your bunk bed and landed on a picture frame on the floor and absolutely shredded your vagina, and you were in shock so you didn't feel any pain but blood was gushing out of you, and so you thought you got your period for the first time because you were 15 and still hadn't gotten your period. So you went to the bathroom and tried to clean it up, but you were pretty sure that's not how periods were supposed to look. So you went and woke up your mom and she realized what happened and took you to the emergency room. And they didn't believe that you weren't a victim of abuse and or high, so they drug tested you and questioned you for about an hour, and then they realized you really were just a dumb bitch who fell out of bed. So they tried to give you numbing before giving you stitches, but there was nowhere for the numbing to inject into because your vagina was so shredded. So they give you 50 stitches on each labia unnumbed, and then your vag swelled up to the size of a catcher's mitt and you couldn't close your legs for 3 weeks.
So here's a fun one. Put a finger down if whilst you're abroad in Spain you found a Kit Kat in the fridge in your hotel room, but it wasn't listed on the minibar item list, so you just figured it was like a free gift to welcome you to the hotel, so you eat the Kit Kat. But the next day you come back to your room and there's another Kit Kat in the fridge, so you think you and your cleaner have got this like fun little relationship going on where she leaves you Kit Kat, so you proceed to eat them for 2 weeks straight, to which everyone starts telling you like, no, I don't think they're free, and you're like, no, they definitely are free. But you get scared and check with the cleaner by leaving her a note in Spanish asking, ¿Es el Kit Kat libre? With the said evidence, to which she does not reply to your note, so you have to go down to reception and ask them, and they tell you, no, the Kit Kats aren't free, and you've ended up racking up a £25 bill on Kit Kats. £25, and when you leave, they say, you're the guy who liked the Kit Kats. Whoops.
Put a finger down if one time you were talking to this guy for a little while and he told you to come over because his parents weren't home. So you're over there and then all of a sudden you hear the front door slam and he goes, "Oh no, my mom's home." And his mom knocks on his bedroom door and says, "Come out, we know somebody's there and we want to meet her." So you already don't want to go out because now you know you're going to look bad, you're not supposed to be there, and la la la. So you walk out with your head down and and then you look up and his mom just so happens to be your therapist of 5 years and you didn't know that this was her son.
Put a finger down if you ever had a friend call you and say, "Hey, I think my boyfriend's on Tinder. Can you please like set up an account and see if you can find him?" But you don't really want to because you actually have a boyfriend. You don't want to have your own account. So you set up a fake account and find her boyfriend, but also accidentally find your own, and then you decide, should I? And you're like, okay, I will. So you swipe right, match instantly, then you text him to see what he's doing while he tells you to just hang out with the boys doing nothing and stops talking to you because he's with the boys, while he constantly messages your fake Tinder profile the entire time. And then, respectfully enough, sets up a date with the fake girl on the Sunday because he's already got a date with you on the Friday.
Put a finger down if you've ever met up with a guy from Tinder, you're at his house, you're hooking up, and then mid-hook up you get like this tingling feeling in your mouth and it feels like an allergic reaction, but it doesn't make sense because you're only allergic to peanuts. So then you ask him, "Have you eaten peanuts tonight?" And he's like, "Yeah, I had a peanut butter sandwich before you came over." So then you explain to him you're going to go into anaphylactic shock and he needs to give you your EpiPen in your thigh, first time meeting. Then you get an ambulance from his house to the hospital and he forgets his shoes and you're at the hospital until 5:30 a.m. that Sunday morning. You then upload a TikTok because you thought it'd be funny and it goes viral and BuzzFeed contacts both of you to write an article on it.
Put a finger down if you've ever moved countries and then decided, "I'm going to go on my very first Tinder date." And so you start talking to this guy and he seems really nice and then he calls you on Instagram and invites himself over. So you say, "Yeah, okay, sure, come over." And then he comes to your house and goes, "I do wrestling, watch these moves." And then he acts like he's John Cena and starts flipping you around on the floor in the living room of your new apartment. And then he leaves and you never talk to him again. And then 10 months later, he messages you out of the blue just saying thick.
Put a finger down if one time you went home with this guy and at like 4:35 in the morning you were like, "Hey, gotta go, sorry." And he was like, "But we're at your place." And you looked around and you definitely were not at your place. You were at a guy's place and you had never been there before. And so you were like, "No, I'm pretty sure we're at yours." And he looked around and he was like, "I don't live here." And you were like, "Well, I don't live here either. Whose apartment are we at?" And it turns out you broke into some random person's apartment and were having a lot of fun without your clothes on for a lot of hours. Whoops.